You're tuned in to the MtG Cable cast, where they cover Magic, the Gathering Finance. All right? You don't know about it? You're tuned in right now and get ready to learn some shit. Buckle your seat belts and light a blunt and get ready for the MtG Cable cast. Starring Reptar and Thirsty, them onion head motherfuckers.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to the newest episode of the Cabal cast. And for those of you that have been following the cast for a while, you may remember, I say not too long ago, but at some point in the past, we actually did an episode where we covered what we would do if we ran Hasbro.
Yes.
So today, because it's been quite an eventful few months and a year, really, hearkening all the way back to our Alta Fox episode, we're going to revisit that because things have changed drastically since the last time we did that episode. So I will get us started and let's take it away. First thing, incredibly relevant, just a couple days prior to us recording this, Bank of America double downgraded Hasbro stock from a buy to underperforming.
Yes.
And their logic, and I went through and read the entire analysis. Now, they said most of their sources were players, vendors, LGSs, stuff like that they went to for their survey. And then they looked at all of the actual numbers of what Hasbro has done, what they've disclosed, everything.
Yes. And
their takeaway was basically, you're killing it. You're killing the game. Not in a good way. You're actually killing your game. It's going to be dead. Anecdotally, I was just at SCG Philly, and I have never had so many people walk up to me and say, hey, I want out. I'm selling it all. I'm dumping. I just don't want to be associated with the game anymore. That is mind-boggling to me because that is not something that I've ever had to have 5 people deep at an event before. We were literally turning away Mox Diamonds because we'd bought so many this weekend. At any rate, the way I would handle this, it's simple. Slow down the release calendar. Buried in this report was one of the most telling things I have seen in terms of Wizards killing the game by overproducing. There, in the last 12 calendar months, have been 26 mainline product releases. 26. That doesn't count Secret Lairs. That's just mainline releases, and there's like 40 or 50 something Secret Lairs on top of that.
Yes,
that's insane. If you were to average that out so that all of the releases were evenly distributed throughout a year, it was something like every 4.2 days would be a new product release. That is untenable. I am sorry. And something that is actually not mentioned in the release, which I think is very much worth noting. Obviously, Wizards has been, reporting record profits. Well, they've changed their distribution model. They've cut out the middleman. The LGS doesn't exist anymore. So, of course, they're reporting record profits because their margins are way higher than they were before. The trade-off is they're killing the long-term viability of the game. Yeah. Unpopular opinion, and one that we have shared on the podcast before, this game only exists as long as the cards are worth money. Prime example, Pokemon. They don't saturate their releases. They have a steady stream, and it consistently sells. Even when the economy's bad, even when the economy's good, through thick and thin, that is a recession-proof product, and it's amazing. Yeah. Because as an LGS, I don't compete with Pokemon Co. I don't compete with Nintendo. I just get to sell it myself to my customers. That's it. It's easy. I just don't understand how they can so readily destroy it. So I would slow down the product release. I'm not saying I'd go to way back in the day when we had 4 releases a year. Honestly, I'd probably be at 8. With we have 3 to 4 mainline sets that are part of the standard rotation, 1 or 2 supplementals, and a holiday product or something.
Okay.
Get rid of the commander releases with every set. Go back to the way it was when we had 1 commander release per year. License stuff, whatever, stuff like that, fine. Take it to the Secret Lair program, but don't do more than 4 or 5 of those a year. Because I don't know about you, But I remember when Secret Layers came out and they announced them, I was like, oh, this is cool. They'll probably do it quarterly. That was fine.
Yeah, it was nice.
If they had just stuck to the 3-month plan, I'd be okay with that. Every 3 months, throw one up for a week. Fine. We're getting like 12 a month. This is ridiculous. Like, vendors are refusing to buy Secret Lair cards. They're refusing to buy list cards. They're refusing to buy mystery booster cards because it's just not worth it.
Oh, yeah.
It's just too much to keep track of. Too many SKUs. Look at Ben's timeline. He'll tell you all about it.
There's an Informer Twitter poll that you can engage with on his timeline right now. I think it just goes like this if you want to see more in-depth discussion about how we handle all the SKUs here.
Yeah.
Like, he's willing to open that up finally.
It's great, and I definitely recommend checking it out. Very, very good.
Yep. So, as far as slowing down the release schedule goes, I really like that. I don't think peak Magic was 4 sets a year. I think that was fine when the game was still finding its legs, and we didn't have a ton of events all the time. Yeah. Then, as large events picked up, and let's say not a Grand Prix every weekend, let's say a Grand Prix or two a month, let's say 2 Grand Prix a month around the world, and they just rotated on opposite ends of the globe. Then upping the release schedule made sense, interjecting additional sets. I think peak Magic for me kind of hit when we had, it was never on opposite ends of the year either, but when we had like a supplemental and the Commander release. But the supplemental was summer because they were essentially trying to bolster that Q3 into Q4 sales lull that had been trackable since the beginning of time for this company. And then the Commander releases in the fall to winter to kind of, again, push numbers in Q3 in Q4. And that was fine. But if we break it down and we want to specialize product a little more, then why not add another supplemental set or two that does not impact overall the health of the game? You can pull back on the Commander sets, like you said, because creating new cards for those every feels like month is ridiculous. That can't be an easy job to do, and it can't be easy to dedicate those resources to just that one job. And instead, you could reallocate them to other products that could better benefit the game on the whole. Yeah. And if you don't spin your wheels trying to figure out what card to reprint for the 3rd time in the year, maybe things get a little bit better overall. I do like that the point you decided to harp on here was the release schedule and some of the other elements in this article, because Hipsters of the Coast did their own deep dive into the top level article, and they noticed that Arena isn't really mentioned. They say at all, but I'm going to go ahead and say that it's probably tucked away in there somewhere, but the word digital is used to obfuscate. However, as you mentioned, Hasbro, they're only able to report, this is BOFA, only able to report on the numbers that Hasbro releases, and Hasbro has only released fuzzy numbers around Arena anyway, so there's no way BOFA could report on that reliably. Moreover, LGS sentiment is a little weird to do, because a lot of LGSs feel fine about things, because they right size always their sealed product. And that works for them. So that one's, again, a little difficult to suss out. And so I'm glad you picked on specifically the release schedule, because we can point to, yes, wallet fatigue, but also vendor and LGS fatigue, which is huge, because if the LGS and the vendor can't churn that stock fast enough, then it's just going to then the next one's just going to sit at distro. Yep. Because the funds aren't available. And that is actually really damning for the ecosystem comparatively when you look at the article and the breakdown on the whole. It is one of the most difficult ones to deal with. Yeah.
Like to me, prime example, Modern Masters 2017, that release schedule that year was perfect. It was great. You had a product for the casual players in the Commander decks. You had a product for like your money grab in Modern Masters 17, which really wasn't even that expensive, honestly, compared to the stuff now. And you had your 4 or 5 sets. And I think that may have been the year they did the first game night. But whatever. That was perfect because I had time to get invested in these sets and want to see how they played.
Yeah. Now, for me, as a Has exec at the top level, one of the first things I would do is to stop dealing primarily in nostalgia and like dedicated children's toys and look for something relevant to the current zeitgeist to work with. And we just saw Transformers cards hit in Bro, and who's buying those? People that look like us. Old
Yeah.
white dudes with beards. That's it. The
People
only
who have podcasts.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep, John Medina just spiked the $1,900 Megatron, and who cares? Just old white dudes. Nobody else cares about these cards. Just old white dudes. Similarly, G.I. Joe. Aside from 2-3 failing movies in the last like decade and a half, starring Channing Tatum and maybe The Rock, who cares? Who cares about G.I. Joe? That brand is dead. As much as this pains me to say, Ghostbusters, also essentially a brand for dudes who look like us. Now, there's some other stuff in here that, like Indiana Jones, that's getting another movie. So, just like Ghostbusters did, I don't know how much it's going to really generate interest in the brand. I consider that a nostalgia brand. I think it's come and gone. And I think those are best to shave. And that leaves basically what WotC brands, like Nerf, Power Rangers, My Little Pony, and board games left at the org. And that's kind of sad when you look at it at the top level, at least to me. And I would like to see them branch out and just license some more things. Losing the Disney Princess line, which we covered in the Alta Fox episode, that was a big hit. And something needs to be added back to this org to kind of, plug the hole. They have licenses for Star Wars and Marvel, which is great. That gives them perpetual reach, but they need something more stable. Something that I actually just found tucked away in something I will touch on later in this episode in the Pulse section is a Nerf product where they are actually licensing League of Legends to present Jinx's Fishbones Blaster. It's just a Nerf toy that just shoots Nerf darts. I'm okay with this because this is what I'm talking about. League of Legends is in the zeitgeist. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You are not, was it Kenner that owns Micro Machines, so trying to get into like some weird Rocket League stuff isn't going to work. They experimented with Fortnite and Magic. Cool. Yeah. But there's a whole lot of stuff besides a freaking party bus to that game. I'm sure you could license some of the dedicated things. I mean, hell, you could probably make a figure that flosses. I don't care. Just do something a little more interesting. That's what I would be looking for at the top level because this company is slowly aging. And I mentioned this last year. They needed to get rid of a lot of the old white dudes at the top that are just blocking progress and blocking innovation. And this is just riding that point as well. And I know it's kind of weak overall as a point and to be repeating myself. But for me, this is one of the biggest things is I would just look to diversify again. It really does not look like this company cares that much. Like, I don't care how many potato heads you make. That brand is like 100,000 years old.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. I don't care how many parts you can shove up his ass.
It was bad when we were kids.
Yeah. Like,
hasn't gotten better.
Yeah, they just need to find something that's more relevant and push them into space. They have this great setup. They're no McFarlane toys, but the sports figures they make are pretty decent.
Yeah.
So there's no reason why you can't just extend your reach a little bit and start looking into making more and more varied lines and more interesting things. Like, to me, that's pretty big because as these brands fall off, like, what happens if the next Indiana Jones movies flop? Okay, you lost your brand.
Yep, sure did.
Yep, but maybe there's another Ghostbusters in a year or two, so the rumor goes. Okay, what happens after that? Don't know. That's a brand gone. What has G.I. Joe done in the last, 6 years besides die on the vine? That's it.
Yeah.
Transformers only seems to get a lifeline when WotC or Hasbro needs it to. They just throw that brand a life preserver. The last one before this was the card game. As a Magic judge, transitioning to Judge Academy, I was told the Transformers card game was going to move from casual to competitive, and we would have access to testing to be a Transformers judge. And then that all fell apart. Has let WotC let it go, however that one worked. But what does this brand do otherwise? There's no other Michael Bay movie coming down the line. Nobody cares. It's yet, like I said, another old white brand.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, that's a core issue.
I agree. It very much is. Look, if your brands only exist when you need them to, are they really, Transformers seems to me to be the only one that's been really relevant in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
My Little Pony had its time to shine, and then the community ruined it, and it's gone forever.
Yep.
You have to do something better. And when you mentioned like the League of Legends toy, that's great. They're doing the new starting line figures with Panini. That's fine too. That is something that is relevant to the zeitgeist. Why are you still doing Transformers? Why are you still doing My Little Pony? Why has anything G.I. Joe been released since Duke died?
Yeah.
Or went into a coma. Sorry, he went into a coma. My apologies. We fixed it because people were upset.
We follow
Optimus Prime
canon
died.
on this show, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coma.
Yeah. Well, they can let it go too because MLP disappeared for like 15, 20 years. They brought it back and it hit.
Yeah.
They can do it again. They can let Transformers go and reboot it. I think they might have with the Michael Bay stuff, but after that, they just keep pumping it. I don't understand.
Megan Fox needs a payday. Let's get another Transformers out
That's
here.
fair. All right.
My second one is actually something I mentioned earlier. How I would have handled all the Alta Fox stuff. So at this point, on the heels of this Bank of America report, I fully expect at the next earnings call there is going to be a serious discussion about, hey, so all those points Alta Fox made, how you haven't reinvested in the company you've been the president, you've been C-level executives of, how you haven't grown the profits of this company by reinvesting in that, and you've used this company's funds to finance your own side projects. You have this Power Rangers license you paid a bunch of money for, and you haven't done anything with it. At this point, I think it's time to literally just say, look, we're the umbrella. Wizards, you're under it. Do your thing. Let them run it in a way that is sustainable, that is maintainable, because at this point, we have no sign that we're going to get a competitive scene ever. We don't have any indication that competitive Magic is ever coming back.
No.
That would be a great thing to bring back that I would leave Wizards of the Coast in charge of. I would leave Wizards of the Coast in charge of their own product line. And instead of hammering out all of these releases and letting them release them on our platform, let them go back to the traditional distribution model.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that is absolutely mind-boggling to me is that Hasbro understands the distribution model they have to use for toys. You have to send it to a retailer. They send it to your public. That's how 90% of your toy sales occur. Why break that model for this game? Because, as Bank of America said, you are looking at short-term profit at the expense of long-term viability of your product, and that is not okay. It is just not okay. That is something that needs to be corrected sooner than later, and that is something that, in my opinion, is easily fixable by, hey, let Wizards of the Coast run their own thing. And you know what? If we want to set it up so that we get a percentage of their profits as the parent company, fine. We can invest those profits however we want to, but don't make it full control of the profits. You know what? 80-20. Wizards keep 80% of the profits. We'll take 20. We'll renegotiate in 3 years. Easy.
Yep.
Let them run it. Research, development. You need something from us? Great. You're our cash cow. Whatever you need, you got it. It'll come out of our pocket, not yours.
Yep.
It's easy. It's a simple fix. And it fixes all of the problems that your investors have brought to you, including Alta Fox. And you know what? Probably should have a new vote on the board on who gets to be there. Because as we covered in the Alta Fox episode, there's really not a lot of people on the Wizard/Hasbro board that understand trading card games, which are an entirely unique market of collectibles and just in general.
Yep. Because
there's so much more utility here on top of the collectability. You need to do something with it, and you need to put people who are in charge of it that know how that market works. They know what players want. They just don't look at the dollars and cents. They understand that this is about more than that, and you have to make something that is desirable to the general consumer of this product, which is vastly different than what the rest of our product line at Hasbro is. So let's put a Finkel in charge of Wizards of the Coast. Let's let Billy Jensen take charge of the Pro Tour. Whatever you want to do for competitive play, great, man, you got it. Blank check. Do it. Run it. We'll see if it works.
Yep. No, I agree. I think you can just let you should just let WotC do their own thing. There's no need to really hammer home anything for that division unless what you're trying to do is honestly squeeze more blood from that stone. And it seems like anytime Hasbro needs anything, they go to WotC for a loan and just
no payment
shake
terms.
that trade. Yeah, exactly. You just
it's our money now, baby.
Yep, you just move some money around, and that we know that I'm pretty sure Hasbro said it before that that's what they've done, and Alta Fox put it in print, and it is very, very clear. And then coming off of that, the next point I have is kind of a combined one. So there's this idea of the Hasbro Pulse Shop, and I don't quite know exactly what the Hasbro Pulse Shop is supposed to be. That's where the League of Legends Nerf gun was that I just brought up. There is this pretty cool piece from Magic the Gathering that I just stumbled upon. I was never informed, despite the fact that I am signed up for Hasbro Pulse. Chandra's Gauntlet, cool. There's some weird, goofy stuff. Like, you can put your face on a Power Ranger, or a Ghostbuster, or a G.I. Joe. Like, what are you trying to do here? I don't understand it with some of this naive stuff. Then you dive in a little deeper, and you see, okay, well, here's the Power Ranger Lightning Collection, and these are wearable and, like, usable props. And you bet your bippy that I'm waiting for the Green Ranger stuff to go up. Absolutely. And then you look at the Ghostbuster stuff, and there's a Neutrona Wand and a full pack. And again, will own both of them when the pack gets here. So I am buying some of this stuff. But aside from those last 2 pages that really demonstrate that this is supposed to be a high-end product, I don't know what the rest of this is supposed to be. When you take a look at the other brands that they have, and I'll bring up Indiana Jones because it's pretty easy to see here. Where is it? These figures don't look very high-end. They look pretty dumpy, like Indiana Jones is square in the middle of your screen. Yeah, it says Retro Collection, straight out of 1970s. Major Arnold tote, and the next one to the right, also really goofy, looking for something that's supposed to be current. I don't know what the purpose of this is. So, retro makes sense, current, not so much. And if you are trying to make high-end toys, you know who your direct competitor is. It has been for years. And here are 2 Warhammer 40k toys from Todd McFarlane. So this is one of them. This is a Dark Tide figure. And, like, look at the detail on this thing. It is ridiculous, down to the bandolier. And here is just a generic orc, like, in a mech suit. Everything about this figure is posable. I think it's about 6 inches tall. The paint on it is amazing. The sculpt on it is amazing. And Todd McFarlane's mantra for his figures has always been, everybody else makes shit. We're just going to make it sexier. That's it. So I don't know what Hasbro Pulse is supposed to be, because it's not sexy at all. It's actually like Vaseline over the lens, fuzzy and goofy. So maybe you got to figure out what you want to do with that. However, the point I do want to drive home here is they need to shed all internal media divisions and only focus on making toys and games. Partner with companies that do media better and let them take care of it, because what they're doing now is not turning a profit. And we know this from the Alta Fox write-up. Like, Pulse wasn't covered in there. I assume that makes money because it's all just print to order, including their little Kickstarter service, which is where the Ghostbusters pack was. And now there's currently a Deathsaurus there from Transformers. Like, neither the media division nor Pulse make sense, because it seems like they just have no idea what they want to do with them, and the media division was actively just a black hole for money. It made the G.I. Joe movies. I don't think it made the My Little Pony movie. And as we touched on a week or 2 ago, the My Little Pony movie is actually what floated Q3 in 2021. Without that, the year-over-year for 2022 looked rancid, and that was cited by Hasbro, that without that movie, this year, it was going to be rancid. And year-over-year 2021, without the MLP movie, would have been terrible, also compared to the year prior. So they need to figure something out. And if that was the only movie that ever floated this, well, you can't point to the media division as being the crown jewel of the savior for whatever, but you can point to it being a tank and making one good thing, and the rest are just absolute trash. You're a toy company. What business do you have choosing a producer, a director, and guiding direction for your cast? Like, if you saw the second G.I. Joe movie, they wheeled Bruce Willis out there. Unnecessary. I think The Rock might have been in that movie. I don't remember, but they got rid of an actually decent cast and just made the Expendables 3. Wholly unnecessary. I think there might have been something else in the works. They might have done some other small projects, but you would never know it because that media division does nothing. And a lot of the money that they spent on that in the Alta Fox report, I believe, came from Hasbro. Not Hasbro, sorry, WotC. It was fun. That division was essentially fueled by WotC. So if it's not making any money and you have to pull money from one of your most profitable divisions, just outsource it. It's fine. You understand how IP licensing works. You do it all the time. We just talked about Star Wars and Marvel. Let somebody else deal with your My Little Pony. What's going on with the Netflix show for Magic? We don't know. But if that's the WotC Entertainment division, it's probably going to be a black hole. If they sourced it out, maybe this is the trend moving in the right direction. We won't know. Because much like the Flipcoin secret layer, all this information was buried for no reason.
It's dumb. This actually dovetails into my third point as well, and I think the important thing here is, and this is something that was highlighted with the last report, right?
Yep.
First time they mentioned, oh, we have to pay these licensing fees.
Yes.
Okay, well, if part of the reason that you're flat on profit is licensing fees, and you've been reporting record profits, maybe something's wrong with the licensing fees. Maybe don't go after the properties you're going after. Like Warhammer's fine, but Doctor Who? That's not cheap.
No.
Lord of the Rings? Also not cheap. There have to be better things you can be doing with that money. There has to be another way for you to retool your profile. And if it comes down to just trimming up, do it. It's you have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I just, come on, guys. It's you've been doing this for decades. You should know better.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Yep.
Dovetailing into my point, with these things that you are doing with other companies, specifically with Magic Online, you need to retool that program somehow. You need to retool Arena. You need to make a way for it to cross over into paper play. And it's real easy. It's real simple. In fact, it's something another company has been doing for a very long time. If you just put QR codes in your packs, where I scan this QR code and I get the contents of this pack in my online collection, you know what I can do? Buy packs again and play online.
Yep.
And if you want to have a market where you sell stuff on there, great. I will pay you $5, Wizards of the Coast, so I can get the exact card I want. Fine. Please do it. Because this does a few things, and this is why I would want to reinvigorate this. And I'm glad for the changes that they said are coming to Moto, because they've been a long time coming. I firmly believe that if you give us a path as players where we can play online to qualify for large competitive events, and we can do it in paper with minimum investment in one of those that covers both, i.e. buying packs of stuff, drafting so we can keep the codes, whatever. That is so much better for the health and like economic, like culture and environment. Why would you not do that? There's actually a secondary market value for those codes for Pokemon. That's great. That gives me as a player another reason to open packs, because if I don't play online, I can still sell this code for 50 cents.
Yep.
Cool. That's a portion of the pack that I get back for nothing.
Yes. Yeah.
Let me do that. It means more people have access to online play. It means more people have access to paper play, because if we have the set redemption program on Moto, which did just change, that change I didn't like as much. It lets me also, it incentivizes my online play, because now I can get all that stuff by drafting online and get the physical set. It lets you play both options equally, online and in person, and rewards you for doing both, and gives you a clear path through both of those play styles to whatever you want to do with the game. If you want to be casual, cool, you can be a casual player. If you want to be a spike and go to big tournaments, great, you can do that too.
Yeah.
Everybody wins. Everybody.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand. It's just mind-boggling. But I digress.
Yeah. There are some weird caveats to this that they're not nuanced, but this is like, oh, somebody's gonna get at us in the comments.
Yeah.
Not every card for supplemental sets is available on Moto. Minsk and Boo took a very long time to get there.
That's another thing that needs to change. It's like, look, if you have the card, just put it on there.
Not
Right?
Aria of
There's no
Flame. Crap. There was something else. There's the Red Enchantment that I was seeing play in Legacy that also...
Braid?
No.
Braid of Fire?
No,
okay.
that's something Mob maybe. That wasn't there. And so it puts more onus on the digital team to get things done, and we know that team was skeleton for a while, and we still know there are problems with Moto, so they're not prioritizing. But that notwithstanding, Standard needs to work on Moto, so why not? Well, Arena, that's where you would put that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then figure out what you want to do with the Commander products, because I think that would be neat. If you want people to engage more with your format, you lost a ton of opportunity to get people to play on Moto, to Spell Table, and if you do the same thing with the Commander decks, and just dump the entire deck into somebody's inventory or their
Boom, I
binder.
scan the QR, I've got it. Awesome.
Yeah, there it is, directly in your binder, and there's a list generated or whatever that you can just pull up. Now you've got them in your ecosystem, and they're playing on your platform, and that's what you want. After that, it's about how much exposure they have to your product that will make them buy into it more. But yeah, there's no reason why they shouldn't be giving you some kind of opportunity to take your physical cards and put them into the digital realm. It's not like everybody's going to stop buying within Arena or within Moto, and you're going to lose a huge chunk of profit. What you're going to see is instead that profit probably split, and it's going to be hard to figure out. You're not going to be able to say that every pack opened and scanned in paper is correlatory. It was the same person, because there is a market for those. So now you don't know how many players you're engaging in both. And it does make the data very fuzzy, but it's not like these companies have shown that they're ever working with clear data anyway.
No.
So who cares? Why not just, to your point, make it more available? Make both platforms more available. We've been saying for years that they needed to change something with Moto to get people more engaged. Similarly with Arena. I believe that a subscription model also works.
Yeah. You know what I do? Anytime they offer, like, anytime there's the $20 pass, like for Eternal Week, every single time I buy it. Every single time.
The only reason I still don't have Moto installed is because that isn't a permanent fixture. If it was a permanent fixture, I'd absolutely would jam more than the 0 I do right now. And it seems like there's this fear that if they do that, they're going to lose out on some amount of profit. But that's not the case. To bring people to Standard on Arena, I think the proper way to do it is through pack redemption like that, because it is going to be more profitable at the end of the day. Somebody's buying that pack. That costs them cents to make and gives them dollars profit, and is just better overall than a subscription model to Arena, the Standard platform. So yeah, I agree with that. Until they find a way to bridge the paper digital play.
Yeah.
Once they bridge that, then we can look at whatever we need to for that solution. And I think there's a buffet of options in front of them, and they just, like Abe Simpson memed it. They just walked in the door, hung their hat, saw Bart at the Mater D thing, turned around, grabbed their hat, and walked out the front door. Yeah, like that's it. That's just what they decided to do instead of looking at anything. Kind of like or a petulant child, if you want. Like, no.
Yeah.
But we'll see. My third point is also about digital, but I think like yours, I think there's a lot of positive to this, because it would be a minimal... I don't want to say minimal. Mine's kind of a big change, but it would be better for everybody overall, including WotC. And that's just understanding that there's a difference between paper and digital development, and WotC should definitely be split into two divisions. There should be WotC paper and WotC digital. Those assets should be different because they do completely different things. They should be managed differently, and they should be siloed is the wrong word here. There should definitely be cross-entity development work that's done, but for the most part they can be siloed in what they do, because WotC Digital is just responsible for making the cards that WotC Paper is developing work within the game, and then whatever goofy formats they need to make work. And that also means somebody like Morrow can just be put up in his little tower and never impact a
Anything.
a fucking format ever again with like, let's try this weird mutation on Pioneer for the 6th time. Like, no.
Please stop.
No, Grandpa, stop.
It's dead.
Yeah. You can let WotC Digital figure that one out because they have the data, and then they can both come back to Hasbro and report back equally. You don't have to worry about it. If you do want to maintain parity between the two platforms, essentially paper and digital, which you do, these do have to talk to each other. So yeah, you have to meet it all the time. How's Pioneer going in paper? How are those events looking? How's Pioneer going in digital? What do we have to do about X, Y, or Z? That's how you're going to pull your band data too. So there is going to be this cross-organizational, workload that will exist, but the opportunity to segregate that work into two different divisions also allows them to work a little more clearly and more impactfully. WotC Digital gets its own budget to work with. They can bring in a game studio if they want to and not impact WotC Paper. And now everything has its own unique paper trail. One's not impacting the other. Has can pull whatever funds they want from either one. They could even farm out WotC Digital, but just pull everything digital and give it to somebody else. If that's going to be your foundation, that's fine. The more opportunity, the better. But there needs to be, for me, a clear delineation between what WotC is and does now versus what they are and will be doing in the future. Because asking them to do both, I believe, is a recipe for disaster that we're currently heading towards, and we can see. It's kind of like the trolley problem. Like we're going to come to that crossroads soon enough, and the lever is very easy. Create another division and push digital over there, or run over a chunk of the org because the people at the top are too old and white to understand what's going on.
Yeah. I think the modernization of Magic is one of the most critical things to its future.
Yes.
Bringing it into the 21st century in terms of how the game is presented. Not just physically. Obviously, the art style has changed. Everything has met the more modern, lowest common denominator shtick that we all know and love. But really, having a good digital platform for it. I mean, look, the whole reason Arena even exists is because Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Hearthstone took the gaming, like, paper or TCG gaming field by storm when it came out. There's no reason that Wizards shouldn't be able to compete with that. There is no reason that Arena should crash every 30 seconds on my brand new cell phone, that I have loops that crash the app and that destroy tournaments because everyone times out. It just needs to be modernized. That's so crucial to the future of Magic to me, because don't get me wrong, obviously we all love the Gathering.
Yeah.
That's what it's really about to most of us. But you know what I loved? Having Ascension on my phone. Because when I would just get lost. Like, I'd take a break at work and I'd just be like 45 minutes later, shit, man, I'm on my third game and I'm 15 minutes over. I want that kind of accessibility for Magic that's not frustrating. I can't play Arena on my phone and not be frustrated. So please do something about it.
Yep.
Please.
Yeah. And it's not like these two divisions are separated by an impenetrable wall. They have to work together. You have to know what's going on with the product and what the vision is for the product overall, because you can't develop digital without a clear product vision. Yep. And when you have when you have an entire organization of people that are just used to developing for paper, there's no real vision about what's going on in the future. And it was kind of clear from what we were seeing, and I said this a couple times both on Twitter and here, that from an engineering standpoint, it was very easy to read through their administration and their design philosophies based on what we were seeing. And if that was true, what we were seeing and what I was saying, then there really did exist the opportunity to do a ton of damage to this brand, because the people that were in charge just didn't have a good understanding or a good future vision of the product for digital. And separating it out allows you to hire the correct people for the job, because they don't have them. It's just not there. Make a digital product, basically came down from Has. And once he said, well, we don't have the people. And Has said, well, find them. Well, we work in paper. Fix it. And that's kind of how the ball got rolling.
Yep.
But that's my third point, my third take home for this year. And now we're moving on to picks because I said so. And I'm also going first because you talked about my pick last week sneakily. You didn't even know it. And I forgot why you talked about it. But my pick for this week is Eldritch Evolution. A nice rare.
It was because of Diabolic Intent.
There it is. A nice... Yep. That's right. We were comparing Diabolic Intent to Eldritch Evolution. A nice rare from Eldritch Moon. 1 double green sorcery. As an additional cost to sacrifice Eldritch Evolution, sacrifice a creature. Search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, where X is 2 plus the sacrificed creature's converted mana cost. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library, exile Eldritch Evolution. So if you sacrifice a 3, you get a 5 or less creature. Basically, this is another in the fixed birthing pod pile of cards. So that's basically how we're looking at this card. And when I wrote my notes, CK was buying 73 at $6.40 as of today. They're buying 67 at $7, which I like to see. Buying less for more, always great. 208 TCG player listings for Near Mint LP at $7.39. Now I've only had this on my list for a month, and CK was buying 78 at $4.80, so that's a 1.5x on the buy list. And the TCG market is basically spot on. 209 listings, we're down to 208 as I was writing this, at $7.39. 38, sorry. It's currently $7.39 when I wrote my notes. It's CK. Where did stocks go? It's currently over $8. So it's gone up about 10% since I decided to write these notes. Now, from a commander playability standpoint, if you're going to be playing Birthing Pod, you're going to be playing Eldritch Evolution. It just goes in the pile. You need a redundant effect, and this does it. And you can rebuy, and you can't really rebuy this because it exiles, but there are ways to get it back and pull from Eternity and Rift Sweepers and stuff like that, so you can like do some really goofy stuff to get it back and like and actually chain up, or just chain into a creature that gets pod. There's that too. So this really is playable in any deck that wants to chain like that. You're looking for that value chain. It doesn't go in every green deck, just like Pod. Not in every green deck, but it's a deck where you want to just move through your creatures and further your game plan. So when we look at the format on the whole, like I said, I'll reinforce it, you're climbing the chain. Now this plays across every kind of deck you can think of that runs green, but not every deck that runs green. It's just thematically. This runs everywhere. It could be you want to play elves, but you want to get up to something like not Creator Hoof because that's an 8. It's really hard to get there, but you want to get up through a bunch of your lords for mana. Cool, you can Birthing Pod it. You want to play like some weird Bruce Tarl deck like we see here. Bruce Tarl's all over this. Cool, climb the chain, get whatever you need from a value engine. It's just fantastic. You can value chain, so that's something like think Jund. You're just going to Jund them out. You're going to climb from Oracle of Moldiah to, like, what's a good 5-drop in Jund? Doesn't matter. And then from there to, like, Grave Titan to, like, Shieldred. You know, that's not a bad value train. You can combo out. Find your pieces. We've talked Keenan, Bonder, Prodigy is the Simic rare, I believe. That allows you to combo out with this. There's stuff in it's all over the place when you look at rec. But in every instance, you're tutoring for the creatures to put them directly into play. And while these are both sorcery speed options, Eldritch Evolution and Birthing Pod, they are some of the cheapest ways to do this in green from a mana value standpoint.
Yeah.
And they are locked into sorcery speed. Green Sun Zenith also locked into sorcery speed. A little less repeatable than Pod, but from a mana value standpoint, it is more expensive to continue to do this than Eldritch Evolution, which goes 2 up. You just get the gratis 2 on that. Court of Calling, also fantastic.
Another great one.
Instant speed, huge mana hog. So Eldritch Evolution can just get this done faster, earlier, and a little bit better than some of the other options that aren't Birthing Pod. So I really like it in Commander because of that. It also plays in Modern, like we discussed, and I think I'll touch on this a little bit later. There's a Yawgmoth deck that makes really good use of this, and Undying and Persist creatures. and you don't really see that part of the value engine when you look at the combo side or the creatures that are tied to Eldritch Evolution in EDH Rec. It is kind of all over the place because so are the commanders. But the combos are, if I could find them, are pretty tight overall because it's just a birthing pod chain. It's just a value card.
Yeah.
Timeline wise, I believe we're looking at about a 6-month turnaround to buy a list for cash arbitrage, as we're seeing approximately 400 copies sold per month across LP and near mint, but I think that's ticking up. Now, there is immediate opportunity for arbitrage. This is as I was writing this, and that was for credit, so we should still be able to hit that. Yeah, we can make about $1 to $2 in credit right now. That's going to be in the short term, and we're going to see slow increases of buy lists like we just did in time, so you will be able to get out to cash, like I said, in about 6 months or so. Yeah. But again, if you want immediate arbitrage to credit, cool, that's right there, right in front of you. Just take it. If the Yawgmoth deck does hit in Modern and we move into Modern Season next, I would expect sales velocity to ratchet up, pushing the price way, way, way high.
Yeah.
Like, probably, double up is hard. I'd like to see this at 15, but an easy 12 seems fine.
Yeah.
And I think that would be in the next 9 months to a year window to see profit to buy a list, because we have the rest of Pioneer Season to play out and then Standard Season after that. So we know we're at least, I wrote my notes obviously a couple of weeks ago. DreamHack just happened, right?
Yeah, I think it was this past week. No, it's this coming weekend.
Okay, it's this coming weekend. Yeah. And then we have in like 2 or 3 months the standard portion of things, which means Modern would be 6 months out, and it's going to be somewhere in that gap if Yawgmoth takes off, that we would see buy list pushed because of that deck. But that's also right around my timeline for if it doesn't pick up, because that's just the way that everything's trending. I think that's going to be a really interesting apex for what's going on with this card, like in terms of price.
Yeah, I agree. I love this pick because it's, as with many picks I've liked recently, it straddles the casual and competitive gamut. Yeah. It hits all the EDH levels. It obviously sees play in 60-card formats, and it sees play in CEDH. It's just an incredibly liquid card that I wouldn't mind having a couple play sets of in a binder anyways.
Yeah, I think we're also pretty insulated from reprint, because this is related to Eldritch Horrors, and the reprint equity on that seems pretty low to non-existent unless we return to Innistrad again and they decide to go back to Eldritch Horrors instead of traditional Gothic Horror.
Yeah.
And we've been to Innistrad 3 times now, and they went like Gothic Horror, Eldritch Horror, Classic Horror / Gothic Horror. So I don't know what the next one would be. It's hard for me to kind of like pull that one out of a hat, because I really didn't just expect werewolves and vampires. I thought we would be a little more Baroque and get a little more of like the zombie Frankenstein-y stuff that we didn't get last time, but was kind of poking around.
Sure didn't.
Yeah.
Just Twilight, the set.
Yeah, right. And I don't think this is coming from... this is going to be in a Commander product anytime soon. It just seems a little too awkward for that. And then by quantity, this one's difficult because it depends on what you believe in. If you don't believe in the Yawgmoth deck, I think 2 playsets to move in the short term while there's cross interest is perfectly fine, because I believe that's what's driving the card. If you believe in the Yawgmoth deck, then I think as much money as you want to slam at this card is worthwhile. That deck is picking up in popularity. With Yorion gone and stock and Omnath seeming to fall, that deck rises in stock along Rakdos Scam. They're not doing the same thing, but they're just trying to play this value engine game. And I don't know which one's better, but people really like the lines afforded to them in the Yawgmoth deck. And for me, that would basically say, if I believed in that, or I had a lot of locals that could discuss with me what that deck does in the appeal, then I'd probably slam a couple hundred at this.
Yeah. I think quantity-wise, I think that's totally worth it.
And then, like, personally, since I play it heavily, I don't know how many I have, but I have no need to buy any more right now. I know That's the truth. It's just like birthing pods. It's like I've got my sets,
Yeah.
I got my foils, I've got Judge promos. I don't need any more birthing pods.
Yeah.
You, on the other hand,
Boy, I'm going with Dopey Dog,
yeah, you are.
also known as Rescue Retriever. Before I get into the reasons why I like this card, this art's amazing. This guy is having the time of his life, living his best life on the battlefield. Look at that guy. He's smiling ear to ear. Happiest dude on the field. At any rate, why this card? Well, it provides combat tricks to a very popular casual tribe. 5 mana for a 3/3 with flash. It's kind of overcosted.
Yep.
But when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each other soldier you control, because this is itself a soldier.
Okay, I want to make a point of order here. And it's not because of a tweet I saw today. Goblin, merfolk, zombie, human, tribes.
Yeah.
Wizard, soldier, job.
Yep.
So, to a popular job.
Yes, fair. Popular job. You are correct. Since we have the race class system now, similar to D&D.
Yes.
So it beefs up all your soldiers when you flash it in. Additionally, and this is one of the important ones, prevent all damage that would be dealt to other attacking soldiers you control. This is a casual card. It is absolutely a casual card. But you know what else it is? It's a dog. Magic players love dogs. They love cats. We have cat lords and dog lords. Now we have a dog that's a soldier lord that gets buffed by other soldier lords and dog lords.
What's not the
Everybody wins.
Yes.
As for a price point, timeline, quantity, look, this card's like a quarter right now.
Yeah.
I will happily throw $10 at this, knowing that this is coming from what will be the most open set in the history of Magic. But you know what else?
No.
It's a dog. So in about, timeline-wise, 12 to 16 months, similar to the stuff that I mentioned last episode, I would fully expect us to see a recovery here. The interesting analog I would go to is basically, if you look at the price history of cards like Field Marshal or Catapult Master, those cards saw a surge. Catapult Master did get reprinted, which tanked the value. Field Master still has a decent price point, not as good as it was before, but this is something that I wouldn't expect to see anytime soon in a reprint, unless we somehow get a Secret Lair dog, which I guess could happen because we do have a Secret Lair cat coming. But even then, I wouldn't think it would impact the value too much, because this card, at this point especially, is already so affordable that, look, I spent way more than $10 on Sarkhan's Unsealing, and I will admit that was a bad investment, but I'm still doubling down every chance I get.
Yeah.
This one, though, I think is really solid because, again, it's a casual tribe. It provides combat tricks to a tribe that doesn't have a whole lot, in a color that does, to a job that doesn't have a whole lot, in a color that does not have a whole lot of combat tricks.
Yeah.
I just think it's a really solid low Slumlord play, and you know I love Slumlord plays. And that's exactly what I see this.
Yeah.
Again, quantity, like 40 deep. It's $10. Who cares?
Yeah. This card is kind of interesting to look at from a rate perspective. If you think about a flash 3/3 that is also a lord, yeah, that's probably going to cost you the 2 and a white. Maybe the 3 in the white. So what you're getting on top of that is a one-sided fog, which is really unique because Holy Day, the white fog, does that cost 1?
Yeah.
Right? Let me type Holy Day in all caps. Yep, it just costs 1, which is what fog costs. But usually one-sided fogs cost more. So some part of this card is above rate, and people are going to honestly forget that it's a one-sided fog. Your creatures continue to do damage, which is actually very powerful in Commander. That wins combats just as much as like Surprise First Strike.
Yeah.
As well, right? And I think that part of it also lends itself to being extremely good. There's going to come a point where the Soldier deck is going to operate a little bit like the Merfolk deck in Commander, which is just like, how many Lords can I jam in here, and then how opportune is it for me to clone them? And the Soldier land that we just got is Azor colors, which does lend you to play some clones and some blue soldiers. So yeah, this could just turn into like all Lords deck and then some draw spells, and at that point in time, you're like, yeah, it's going to be one big dog. One huge pooch.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah.
And it's also, again, it's if you go into blue-white, you also get ephemerate, momentary blink, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is easily abusable in the color.
Yeah.
And being an ETB trigger, you can also panharmonic on it. There's so many different things that you can do with this that just make it like a solid quarter bulk rare that you'll just wake up one day and presumably, hey, you know what? Maybe it's only a 50-cent buy list. You know what, though? That's still a double up.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is... I dismissed this card because of how much it cost for the power toughness, and I didn't even read the text box. I won't lie.
Yeah.
When we were doing our set review, I just skipped
Yeah.
right over Dopey Dog here because I was like, mana value to PT, not where I want to be. But reading the rest of this card, yeah, I think this is a decent hit, especially like you said, as people move more and more into soldiers and figure out what they want to be doing with that deck on the whole, because
Yeah.
like you said, they're coming around to it, and I think they're a little lost, but they'll get there. So why not pick up on the important parts of it now? And I think this is going to be one of them. Well, do you remember Onslaught, the white quote unquote tribe from Onslaught was soldiers?
Yep.
And they all had a rare where you tap X number and do a thing. Do you remember what the white one was named? I'm very curious.
Catapult Master.
Oh, that is Catapult Master? Okay.
That is Catapult Master. And it's exile a creature in tap 5.
Tap 5. Okay.
Yeah.
It also costs 5 for a 3/3. Huh, that's kind of a weird coincidence. Tap 5 on tap soldiers you control, remove target creature from the game. Yeah, no conditions on that.
Nope, just gone.
It was reprinted in Elspeth vs. Tez. Same art.
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider that a true reprint.
No.
Yeah.
The foils are a fortune, though. They're like $20 for that.
Oh, yeah, it's an Onslaught foil. What do you want?
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's one of those things. It's like, you make a lot of soldier tokens as well. That is another thing you can do casually within the tribe instead of just trying to play all the creatures all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darian, King of Kaldor, makes soldiers. Ranger Captain of Eos lets you sack soldiers for a fog.
I mean, doesn't our favorite Decree of Justice make soldiers?
Decree of Justice makes soldiers.
What is the finale of
White
Glory?
Sun Zenith makes cat soldiers.
Is finale of Glory the white one? It makes soldiers. Yeah, we were making a lot of soldier tokens in this deck.
Yeah.
And the soldier deck on rec right now, there are a few of them. You've got Boros. It seems to be, I guess if you combine all of it together, Boros is the most popular color combination right now because you've got some pretty decent leaders in Aurelia War Leader, so you get double combats, and Tajik, which just kind of battalion stuff to death.
Yeah.
But then you have the Bison card from 40k. Commissar Severina Rain. So we just keep getting support for this tribe all over the place. The hits just keep on coming. So there's got to be some. But yeah, the more I look at this, I'm not like talking myself into this. I'm just making myself more aware of the fact that people do play this deck, and there are a number of Sunforger is a theme for soldiers. Voltron, Token, Soldier Token is the most popular one by far.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna go wide, then you also want to be on the Lord plan, so you can go a little tall. Yeah, this just plays right into a lot of what's going on rec, and it's going to be low level casual for a while until it isn't. And so absolutely, this definitely hits a lot of those marks that we talk about. I like it overall. All right, Dopey Dog, you're in.
Yep, you got it.
Anything else before we sign up?
So one more thing about the card, actually.
Okay.
This is not a one-time fog.
No, it is
it's
not.
Just it is always do it.
That
always.
is. Yep, I thought it was attached to the trigger. It is not. You are absolutely correct. This is permanent one-time fog. Man, Dopey Dog is so good. The more I read this card, reading the card explains the card, and I never read the card. So this is why.
He's so happy to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
How can you not root for this guy?
Everybody came along with me on my journey of discovery as to why Rescue Retriever is a better card than I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'm glad everybody was here for it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay.
I'm good.
So, for MTG Cabalcast on Twitter, Patreon, Facebook, and YouTube, I am at Halt. I am Reptar. You are.
And Thirsty Sizzler.
And we'll see you next week.